Big thanks to Napoleon Grills for sponsoring this episode.
Barbecue doesn't always have to be expensive. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you how to save a lot of money while barbecuing. And one of the biggest expenses is meat. That's why I like to dive into my barbecue. I don't dive in I dive into my freezer. Well, I have a walk-in freezer, but normal people have a freezer. I got a lot of stuff in my freezer, and as a family, while I was not barbecuing, I had a lot of stuff in my freezer, but there was always this drawer with stuff that I never ever used. So now I'm going to show you how you can take that, the freezer scraps, and turn it into delicious barbecue. And at the end of this video, you can do it too. In my freezer, I have some lamb that I'm not been using. And in this bag I have some pork which has some serious freezer burn and is not as beautiful as it used to be anymore. But this is still good food. It's not outdated, it's not gone rotten or bad, it's just not that pretty anymore. Let's change that. I'm going to start with this piece of pork. In itself, this is a beautiful piece of pork, but it's just still has some bone, some cartilage. It's the end of the beautiful piece. First I'm going to take this piece of bone out, then I'm going to take off the skin. Of course you want to use a sharp knife. In my case I'm using the Forge chef's knife. Make long strokes because it doesn't have to be pretty. And then I'm going to cube this up into fine chunks of meat. Now I'm going to take a meat grinder and grind those chunks up. Now these things are a little expensive, but you can buy cheap ones. Hand grinders. They're super easy and handy to use and they don't cost you a lot of money. If you only have a knife, you cut it up with your knife. You can do it. It's a lot of work, but you can do it. All right, let's go. Grind this up. Now, of course, if you want to use beef, you can use beef. And if you're saying like, hey, man, I ain't got nothing in the freezer that has freezer burn or that I want to use for this recipe, just get yourself some 50-50 minced beef. Meat. Because it's pork and beef. Now I got a big mountain of minced pork and I got my minced lamb. Ready for the next step? And that is adding flavor. I'm going to mix up my lamb and pork. I'm going to chop fine 2 whole onions. And of course I want to put in a few garlic cloves. I'm going to slice those fine. And now we're getting somewhere. We're adding flavor to the meat, but we're going to add more. Because what we're going to make is cevapcici, or at least a version of it. It's not the authentic version, but there's a lot of debate about the authentic cevapcici. And I like to keep it real. This is all about making delicious barbecue. And I don't care where it comes from, and I don't care how it's used to be made or how to pronounce it, as long as it tastes good. And that's why it's time for eggs. The eggs are going to help to bind the meat. And together with the breadcrumbs, they're going to be the glue that holds the recipe together. And for a beautiful color, I'm going to add some paprika powder. Of course, it needs to be seasoned. Therefore, I'm going to add some salt. And it's going to be freaking delicious. Let's put this all together, mix it up, put it in the grinder once again. Now that I minced it once again, we got a beautiful mixture. Spices, onion, garlic, and as you can see, it turned nice and fine. And now, if we knead it, it becomes like a dough. And that's exactly what I'm looking for. I need a dough because we're going to make this beautiful cevapcici. So there's loads and loads of ways to pronounce it. But basically, it means minced meat, beautiful flavors on the grill. Delicious. Time to turn the pile of meat into cevapcici. I've got here a half a bottle, plastic bottle, and I'm going to take the meat, stuff it in the bottle. And it's kind of like a hack because there are devices that do this for you. But of course, this is the cheap version of the way to do it. And then you're just gonna compress it and push it until it comes out as cevapcici. Now, of course, I want these to be in the size of cevapcici, in the size that we can actually eat them. So I'm gonna cut these in 3. And now these are ready to hit the barbecue. I'm gonna be cooking on the Napoleon kettle grill. This is a beautiful charcoal grill. And as you can see, I used mine intensively. Now I'm gonna use coconut briquettes as a fuel because it's sustainable and it's going to cook at low temperatures for a long period of time. These briquettes can burn up to 12 hours. Then I'm going to place in my grill grates at the highest position, close the lid, and let the cast iron grill grate come up to temperature. To make sure that I keep my temperature right, I'm going to open up the top vent all the way. And I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom vent. And while the barbecue is getting up to temperature, I'm going to make a sauce to go with it. And it's called ajvar. And again, I'm not using the traditional recipe, but I'm making my own improved version. As you can see, I'm putting on 4 bell peppers, an onion, an eggplant, and a chili pepper. And the chili pepper is optional. I'm gonna roast it until it turns black. Then I'm gonna take them off, let it cool down, deseed them, put them in the blender, a clove of garlic, a 1/3 cup of olive oil, half a tablespoon of white wine vinegar, and half a tablespoon of table salt. And then it should look like this. A delicious red sauce called ajvar. Make sure you give it a try so you know you seasoned it right. Oh. And finally it's time we start grilling our cevapcici. I love that word. The person that came up with that word must be the most cheerful person ever. Cevapcici.
I think I know who it is.
Yes?
Yeah.
Cevapcici. I'm grilling over a low temperature on the barbecue because I need the fat to render down slowly and build up a crust on the outside of my cevapcici. Exactly 1 barbecue full of cevapcici. As we're grilling them, they become soft. They are cooked, so be careful. And that slow sear is very, very important. You can hear it. I want the cevapcici to cook fully through and all that fat to render down and make the cevapcici juicy. I'm closing the lid because I want them to cook a little bit more even. I got some hot spots in the grill, but by closing the lid and tempering down the top vent a little bit, I'm keeping the heat inside, cooking them on the inside of the cevapcici as well as the crust. So give them a little bit of time. They need the time to cook perfection. I could listen to this all day. I want it as a ringtone. I want to be there when I go to sleep, like a little sound on the nightstand. I want it in my car. Eliminate the noise of the road. And I want scented candles that smell like barbecue. I want a deodorant that smells like barbecue. What if we do the same thing? Start a shop. Scented candles, but only barbecue. Everything barbecue. L'odeur de la homme de BBQ. That's it. That's what we're calling it. The mon ami de BBQ. Extra supplémentaire. I stacked up my cevapcici in a nice pile. And look at all of that goodness. We got that beautiful crunch on the outside, the juiciness on the inside, and all of that screams flavor. Now what I want to do as the last thing is take a flatbread and put it on top of that cevapcici. And now the cevapcici is going to steam that flatbread, make it juicy and really delicious. And then it's time to plate it. First, I'm going to fold my flatbread. Then I'm going to spread in some ajvar, followed by the cevapcici, and then you have a delicious dish. And of course, the recipe to all of this is on our website. There we go. By any means, not authentic, but oh so freaking delicious. And that's how I save loads and loads of money while making good barbecue and impressing my friends.